So, as far as dramas go, this was interesting, I suppose. But it, it was a bit, I guess, sort of haphazard. Um, the author describes a thriller, but it's not quite. I mean, it's really just, like he could just ignore all that, ignore everything that happened, and he could simply continue on with his life. So it's not like it's not a thriller in the sense that someone is abducted or something, or some you know holds his daughter hostage or such. So in that sense, it's very non-thriller, but otherwise, well, it's still interesting. But you know, one of the actors said that it's not about memory like sort of like it's not about amnesia or such. It's not like Memento or such, the movie. But in a way, if it would be more interesting in a sense, because it's not exactly majorly into memory. I mean, I don't know. Ultimately, I mean, so yeah, we assume that he absolved himself in his mind from the suicide, and but just um it's not exactly a big deal. I mean, ultimately, he didn't really have much of it. I mean, it's nasty things are written all the time. Um, People don't just act on them, so just and wasn't it like a few months later as well when it happened after the letter was sent. So how much effect did it really have? So in the sense, it doesn't quite very much gel a novel. Now I can only comment on the. I mean, yeah, that's the point. I can only comment on the movie, not the novel. I'm not sure why I said novel there. But if indeed the novel exactly has this, like I don't know, I read the synopsis for the novel, and it seemed to omit just a couple of things, but there are a few more differences apparently, possibly, like the shop not really existing, possibly. At least I read someone saying that. And what I think that could have been better if the, the movie had is if apparently in the novel the the suicide had a note and it blamed choices life. I don't know. It would have been interesting. So if it was shown as poster, it seemed to be interesting. The movie still had some mentions of sort of Camus and such, but not at great detail. So anyway, yeah, the point is though it doesn't quite resolve anything. In a way, it's kind of like Wonder Wheel, by Woody Allen. It doesn't quite do much. It just goes around, but doesn't quite resolve anything. And yeah, it's sort of like one of those things like like children go on and just go around, and just get dizzy. And it's not very. This movie isn't quite dizzying, but I don't know what it's meant to say. Like, you know, there's obviously a pregnancy and later childbirth due to some sort of, I'm assuming. I'm not sure if this is a novel, though, but anyway. I'm assuming that it's there just to say sort of like a commentary on uh, how children, I suppose, are born. Like in that one instance, he was born by implication. The author apparently wanted people to fill in. So by implication, he was born. Adrian Jr. was born because somehow it's a bit of a stretch, really, very far fetched to say that he was born because the nasty letter was sent, and then he went and had a relationship with his girlfriend's mother. It's bizarre, and then he committed suicide because of it. I mean, who does these things? Well, I mean, and don't they know that if they do that, then the babies can happen? And if he literally, I mean, he literally said it in the class, you know, he literally, so it's not like he didn't know about it. I don't know, the whole thing is a bit far-fetched, you know, it's sort of relies on these things that somehow might have happened, but really, I mean, whose life goes exactly like that? It's a bit strange in the sense, and at one point I was thinking that I don't know. I mean, alright, I kind of forgot about the age factor here. Uh, when that guy's name was revealed to be Adrian, at first I thought maybe he didn't commit suicide, etc. I forgot the age. In a way, I thought that would have been more interesting, possibly. And then my second assumption was that Jim's character really had the relationship himself with her mother. Well, of course, forgetting also all the hair, etc., her hair's color, it is. Just, you know, tiny details, I suppose. Uh, I don't know. I mean, even that would have added slightly more. I don't know. Would have made slightly more sense. You know, someone committing suicide just because he got a nasty letter makes very far-fetched sense. I mean, if the novel was exactly like this, then I'm surprised, those Booker judges didn't think it was far-fetched. I don't know. Um, I'm not really very knowledgeable about Julian Barnes's novels, so I cannot say much about everything else, if everything else is far-fetched usually or not. But as a movie, this was, what this movie had, seemed a bit far-fetched. I mean, it was still an interesting sort of tale, I suppose, but it did have a few meditations sort of on life and you know the absurdity of existence in a way, which is obviously what Camus wrote about. It didn't quite have a lot of that. It only had just a few mentions, and didn't go on about it for very long. And you know, it's he spent a lot of time just stalking her, and then I don't get it. It's I mean, I didn't feel like an hour and 40 minutes were a waste or it was too long. Like, oh, like, it seemed to be okay, and I'm not saying, it's below average or anything. It's certainly at least average as a drama, but it's a bit far-fetched. And, despite being, as in, it's not exactly, it doesn't exactly have anything that is, any visual effects or anything. Anything that is I've, I don't know, absolutely bewildering as a concept, as a plot, but it's still far-fetched, just a bit at least. I mean, it still makes sense, but it hinges on a lot of things that somehow is supposed to happen, and you know, the author thinking that people can just fill in the blanks, but really the blanks are far-fetched, which is why I didn't fill them up just as he seemed to have hoped, and instead thought other possibilities. But as it is, as the implication goes, it is far-fetched. It's not necessarily, major criticism of it or anything. I still like it as a drama, but it's still, um, it is interesting, but not too interesting still, and yet it's still, I don't know, it's, yeah. The way he treated the postman, by the way, was strange. So first he just completely ignores him, you know, and then somehow offers him coffee as well. It's going from A to Z. It's that's a bit over the top as well. Both actions. This is something somewhere in between. But as a movie, it's okay, I guess.